G'day and welcome to another edition of the Aussie Ideas Man. This is one that I hate to do because I'm going to have to show my face a bit more, and when I talk to a screen with no auto cue, I can't be bothered with one of those. They have so many pregnant pauses in it, it's just unnatural. I'm not like that when I'm talking to people normally, but I just have mental blanks every time I'm looking at a screen. I'll try to fill in things that are more interesting than looking at me as much as possible. But this is the one where I have to do a lot of talking because it's my review of how well the motor show went. And I'll be honest and upfront straight away. As far as I'm concerned, it was an absolute fizzer. I don't think the organisers could organise a piss up in a brewery. It was such a dog's breakfast. But let me try and start from the beginning, all from memory. First of all, I'm sitting up here in Brisbane and I look at my computer and notice that there is a Melbourne motor show coming up soon, and it's the first in 15 years. You'll have to put up with all the external noises. It's a public holiday and people are out and about doing their yard work and all sorts of other things. But I just want to get this thing out of the way. So I'm in Brisbane, I look at this website and it doesn't tell me much at all. As far as websites go, it is pathetic. But I figure, well, Melbourne usually puts on good shows, so maybe it's just the website. Unfortunately, it wasn't, but listen to that. Got no idea what that is outside. I hope you can't hear it too well. So anyway, I decided to do a quick trip down. And normally I would do it in the SLK that I have, but it has had a problem with the air conditioning for the best part of half a year, and it's still not fixed. So I can't use it because in any wet weather the windscreen fogs up and you have to wind down the windows and get rained on. So the only choice was to take the BYD 803 and suffer the very long charging times. In any case, we went down. So then by the time I got down, it takes 2 days to get there. By the time I got down to Melbourne, I thought, well, I have made it here. It's now safe to buy the tickets. And went to buy the tickets and found that they were sold out for the Saturday, the only day that I could make it. We had to be back before Tuesday because of commitments that my wife had. So on the Saturday, it was sold out. Now, this was a bad way of organising tickets. For a start, it's not a show where everybody has to be seated, so you sell one ticket per seat. It's just a show where people walk around freely. And what they did was they sold roughly $40 tickets for a morning session and for an afternoon session. Now, anybody that came in on the morning session could stay all day. There was no way of telling or emptying them out at the changeover time. So that in itself was silly. In any case, what they did was they had this arbitrary number that nobody knew what it was, and then said, well, that's it, we're sold out. And you couldn't buy any more tickets at $40. But they still sold more tickets. They just charge you $60. And they put this thing called fast track tickets. $20 more, roughly, to be able to be fast tracked. Now, we thought, oh, that's good. Any lines inside, once you got in, you fast track to get in, but any lines inside, and you would be fast tracked as well. This fast track might be worth it. Well, it turns out, my wife asked about it when everything inside, where there was a line-up, none of it was fast tracked for the people who paid more for their tickets. Not a single thing. So this was a rort. If they put a fairly low number on tickets they sell out at $40, then people are just forced to pay $20 more for just getting in. That's it. And now when we were going in, and this is another hit or miss thing for people going in, when we were going in, we could have gone straight through the general admission. There was nobody in front of us, and it was fairly empty. The whole movement of people entering the show was extremely low. I have video of that, so I'll put it on. And so this fast track was a waste of money, other than the fact that it made us able to go at all, but an absolute waste of money in its execution. There were times when the crowds got a little I guess, quicker, and that is they turned up faster. And so there was a little bit of a line up to get in. You might have spent 10 minutes waiting or something like that. And a fast track would have saved you to, say, 10 or 15 minutes. But for most times, it wasn't saving you any time at all. It was a completely silly idea. Selling out tickets for something that didn't have seats for tickets was idiotic. Now, since I was making a video of it, I went down with the intent of making a video of it, and I saw that they were sold out. I tried to contact them, which was very difficult in and of itself because of the hopeless website that I had to use. But in either case, I filled in a form on the website and I found an email address and made my case to both of them. Later that day, I got a return email just saying that I could buy these fast track tickets. In my email, I did say that I wasn't able to buy general admission tickets and that I had intended to make a video, and was it possible that I could go on a Friday media day, not knowing even if there was one. Later I found out there was a media day, and these organisers made no mention of it in the reply. If they knew what they were doing, they could have charged me general admission on the media day. On the Friday I said I could go, and that would have been it. I'd have been happy to pay $60 less for the three of us and go on the Friday and be able to film when there weren't crowds around. As it turned out, even with these sold-out Saturday sessions, both morning and afternoon, in the middle of the day, I had, in many, many places, plenty of room to walk around. It really was a dog's breakfast. Well, I think that covers the getting in. When my wife asked some organisers, it's hard to get to the top-level organisers, but those that represented the organisers, they said they knew what they were doing. Well, I had a good laugh when my wife told me that, because these people haven't got a clue what they were doing. They really don't. They could have done way better. And I haven't even got to the show. That's just dealing with somebody that wanted to record the show for them, to get pictures of cars without too many people milling around them. They had a day for it, and they didn't use it. But it's probably a good thing they didn't give me that opportunity, because I would have still had to make an honest report on how bad it was being in there on the day. Better that they did me no favours. So for the $180 that it took for the three of us to get in, I decided to cover the show as thoroughly as possible. Well, part one was all the cars that should have been at a motor show. There weren't many, and they were hijacked by Chinese EVs, probably numbering 90% to 10%, I would say, when it comes to new cars by the brands that sell them. And this is what a motor show should have. It should have a lot of inside where you pay to get in. That's the purpose of a motor show. People can look at all the cars in one place and understand what is available for purchase in 2025. They can also look at halo cars and prototypes that are planned for the near future. But they should have a good amount of new cars that you can buy. You can watch part one to see how disappointing that was. So then part two, I showed what custom cars and classic cars were there, provided by companies that were selling something to do with cars. Things like, I guess, paint protection, or superchargers, or exhaust systems, or you name it. But things related to, well, I guess car accessories, you might say, in the main. So yes, part two was the things that didn't belong in the motor show, that were taking up space when they should have belonged to other motor shows, other shows, not motor shows, classic car shows, custom car shows, and even 4x4 shows. See part two if you haven't already. But this one is the evaluation. And because some representative said they know what they're doing, I'd like to tell them now what they should have done. They should have had all of the things that didn't belong in a motor show out in that lovely big foyer that they had outside. Even the 4x4 ramp display could have easily fit in that massive foyer, along with the associated products, and I say loosely associated products, because things were, one of them was beef jerky, another few were perfumes. They were wild and wacky. Even the kids stuff like Hot Wheels and Lego, stuff like that. Just put them all in the foyer. People have a good walk around them without needing to pay. And I don't think people would want their money to go towards looking at that stuff anyway. They could just take advantage of the show being on and being in the foyer. Fill up that foyer. Then there's plenty of space for the brands to show off their cars in the motor show. If you are going to put some of the classic cars out, say you've got paint protection or wrapping to do, one of them was wrapping a Ferrari, put them out with the other associated products, all of them, out in the big foyer that was there. That's how to do it. Don't put a sold out figure on your admission price. Have a reasonable admission price and just let people decide for themselves if the crowds are too big. If they've got a day ticket at the general admission price and they're in there and it's too crowded, let them have a pass out so that they can come back at other times of the day, and maybe they will find some time of the day that suits them. But let them decide. Not charge $40 for half a day, then don't police it. Charge for the second half of the day, and then get everybody with this nonsense of fast tracking. With the 2 doors that they had, if they didn't have a fast track door that was sitting empty just about all day, they would have had the people through both doors without any long lineups. They'd have had twice as many doors. The general admission idea cut them down to 1 door, which made it worse for people going in general admission. It was a banal idea. It was, how they could say they knew what they were doing, I don't know. Unless their overall intent is just to rip people off. Then they knew what they were doing. Well, in the interest of keeping it short, that's all from me. Bye. I'll go back to being Aptera's largest troll. I won't be going back to the Melbourne Motor Show ever. I don't think it deserves to run again. And I believe half the problem why the show organisers probably did it that way, combining custom and classic cars and all sorts of nonsense inside the doors of the showroom, was because legacy car makers won't touch it with a barge pole. They're caught between a rock and a hard place with all these Chinese EVs and the government's promoting them, and they've given up on showing their cars. It just may be that the organisers had to do it this way because Ford and Toyota and Mazda and all of these companies that should have been there just didn't want to be there. Or whatever it is. We have no need for motor shows like that. So that's all. No more on the motor show. Stay safe. I pulled up the floor plan from the Melbourne Motor Show 2025 website so that I could just remove all the displays that shouldn't have been there. It should have been on the outside in the foyer. But I couldn't. First of all the little references, those orange numbers that are supposed to tell you what's being displayed in that position, don't have any list. This floor plan is as is. There's nothing more to it. So those numbers represent nothing. You can't tell what's there. But I can tell that the floor plan is nothing like what was at the show. Because, for a start, look for the big D-Max area. It's not there. Look for other things large like the insurance truck or the army display or Hot Wheels. All of these big items just not there. They don't exist on this floor plan. This floor plan must have come from, 15 years ago? They wouldn't have been in the same building, I don't think. Or did somebody just decide to throw anything up? It's crazy. I challenge anybody from the Melbourne Motor Show to provide the list for all those numbers and also an overhead shot of the real show because they are chalk and cheese. This looks like a scam.